and welcome to tonight's video. I'm just going to be doing a little reading wrap up of the books I've read so far this year, seeing as we're now halfway through. I use this little notebook to keep track of all of the books on my TBR and all of the books I've read. So I've already got it bookmarked to the books I've read so far this year. I will be talking about physical books, but also the books I've listened to on Audible. I think I've got about 50-50 because I do listen to books on Audible quite a lot. I find it easier when I'm walking my son to nursery, like on the way home, or while I'm cleaning up or whatever while he's in bed. I can still enjoy a story but get some jobs done at the same time. So for some of the books I listen to on Audible, I've kind of got like a stand-in book to tap on. So these are just the books I've read starting in January up until my current read that I'm almost finished. And I also thought I'd show you my three options of what I'm sort of torn between reading next. This book is really pretty. I think it's just almost like the perfect vibe for a reading journal. With the little moons and the moth and the foil and the flowers. Most of the books I read are fantasy. So, just in here we have just a list of my 2025 reads so far. I only have 12 so far this year, which is actually really good for me. I'm really happy with that. I definitely am not someone who can read 6, 7, 8 books a month. I can kind of just about read one a month and at the same time listen to a different audio book. So I'll just go in order from the start to the bottom. So there may be some that are audio books and some that are physical. I don't really take my like TBR like that deep or seriously, so I kind of have a separate list for my physical books, and then I have a list of books that I need to listen to on my Audible. I also will tell you a little bit about them if I can remember what happened in them, and or not. But I don't rate my books or have Goodreads or anything like that. I'm just kind of like a casual reader, so I can't tell you what I'd have rated it 5 stars or 3 stars or anything like that, because I just don't do that. I kind of either like it or I didn't. Okay, so the first book that I listened to this year was actually on Audible, but I do actually have a physical copy of it to tap on, and that is The Stolen Heir. The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. So last year in 2024, I read the Cruel Prince trilogy. The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King and The Queen of Nothing, I think they were called. I'm not sure if that's the right order. Does it tell you on here? Yeah, The Cruel Prince. The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King and The Queen of Nothing. And this book takes place 8 years after the last book, The Queen of Nothing. And it's kind of the story of the little brother from them books, Oak. So I think he's 17 in these books, and it's kind of a duology about him and another character from those books as well. And I haven't actually read this physical book, like I said, because I listened to it on Audible. But I really enjoyed it. I do think I preferred the Cruel Prince trilogy here, just because I kind of liked those characters more, like Jude and Carden and stuff like that. But I did also really enjoy this, and they're really short, so they didn't take that long to get through. Or at least this one's short anyway. And I really liked the narrator of this book on Audible. I'm not sure if it was read by the same person that did these ones, because I read these and listened to these on Audible, kind of dipped in and out, but the narrator for these was really good, and I can't remember if it was the same person that did this one or not, but even if it wasn't, it sounded nice and it flowed nicely, which kind of leads me on to the next one, The Prisoner's Throne. And at the time I didn't have a physical copy of this book, and I tried to listen to it on Audible straight after I finished this one, and the narrator was so terrible. They changed the narrator and it was honestly just terrible. I couldn't even listen to it. I think I got barely past chapter 1 and I had to return it because it's literally insufferable. So I ended up getting the physical copy of this one and reading it, but not until a bit later So the next two books, well, three books actually. The next three books that I listened to this year was The Villain's Assistant. However, I couldn't get into that book either, so I ended up DNFing that book. So I can't really tell you how that one finished, because obviously I didn't enjoy it. I just kept wanting something to happen, something good to happen, and I just felt like nothing was ever happening. I'm sure maybe if I'd carried on it may have got better, but I don't have that much time to read or listen to books, having a young son, so any that I do need to count. So as soon as I'm not enjoying it, it's out. Then I randomly listened to a book called Anxious People, and I cannot remember who it's by, so let me just look that up quickly. Okay, it was this book here. Frederick Backman. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right because I'm terrible at names. That's a different cover. Anxious People. But it is not the normal kind of book that I read. But I don't know what drew me to it, but I ended up spending my Audible credit on it for that month, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. I actually really enjoyed it. I had no idea what to expect from it, and it was a wild ride. It's kind of about a bank robber who didn't really want to be a bank robber, who accidentally ends up not only being a bank robber, but the bank they tried to rob was a cashless bank. So they ended up with no money anyway. But whilst trying to run away, they ended up taking a house viewing hostage. And they didn't really want to do that either. So it just kind of escalates and escalates and escalates from there. And all of the people at the house viewing are kind of tied together and linked together. And it was definitely good. I don't think it was very long, so it didn't take too long to get through. But it was definitely a pleasant surprise. So I'm glad that I spent my credit on it for that month. The next book, again, I listened to on Audible, was Sunrise on the Reaping. But I don't have a physical copy of that book, so I thought I'd just tap on the Hunger Games book for now. This actually isn't my copy of the Hunger Games either, but I was randomly walking in today, and the little free library that's near my house, I just saw this in there, so I picked it up just to tap on for tonight's video, and then I'll put it back in there in the morning. Yes, so this is just standing in for Sunrise on the Reaping, which I listened to on Audible, and the reason that I decided to listen to that one on Audible was just that the narrator sounded really good in the preview, and I thought he'd really do the story justice, and I wanted to just enjoy it as much as I could because I love the Hunger Games, and I also really enjoyed the other prequel that was released I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but Songbirds and Snakes. And I'm sure everyone knows what Sunrise on the Reaping is about, but it's a image story from when he did his quarter quell. Just sort of his story on how he became the man he is in these books. And it was really interesting and sad, and just a great read, or a listen in my case. I think so far it's possibly my favourite book of the year. Yeah, it probably is. But there's another book later on that I was like surprised by again. And I'm not sure if that was my favourite, because it's kind of the one I think about the most, so depends what the criteria is, I suppose. I would like to get a copy of Sunrise on the Reaping, but I'm waiting for a collector's edition that I've seen to come out. There's like some lovely edges. This is actually a really lovely copy of The Hunger Games from a little free library. So I'll put that back in the morning so someone can take it. And then I went on to my next read of the year, which was The Prisoner's Throne that I was saying about earlier. And I read this one in physical, and I ended up getting it on, I think I got it on Vinted, but I may have been given it by my cousin, I'm not sure. The Prisoner's Throne. Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. I really like this cover with the butterfly and the ring and everything. And this one is a hardback. And it just sort of carries on from the Stolen Heir, but I think this one's in the other character's perspective, or this one may be in Oak's perspective and that one was in the other character's perspective. I feel like this one's from Oak's perspective and the other one was from Soren's perspective. And I did enjoy this one. I don't know if my experience was slightly tainted by the Audible narration, but I did find that I enjoyed the first part more than this one, although it was really great to see how it ended. I really don't know. I enjoyed it, but I liked the first half better. I feel like more does happen in this one. Obviously I don't want to say too much about it because it's kind of like the second half in a duology, but also the fifth book in the whole series. Something that I do love about these books though, and most fantasy books obviously, is the maps at the start. This one is of the Ice Needle Citadel, which features in this book and the last book. So this was the fifth book that I to do with this year, but it was actually the first physical book I read so far up until this one. Everything I listened to on Audible. And we're jumping back to Audible again, but I sadly don't have a copy of this book, and I really, really wish I did. But it's hard to find a nice version of it, so I'm just going to tap on this for now. And that is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. Again, it was kind of one that I just spent my credit on, not knowing anything about it, and I've never read any of his books. My partner has, he likes him, but I kind of just wanted to give one a go that was like a standalone book, because at the time they had just finished the Cool Prince trilogy and them ones, and I know a lot of the other books I had this year are series, and I was just in the mood for a standalone. I know it is part of a bigger world, but it's the only one that I've read, and I know that you can just listen to it by itself, and it's the other contender for my favourite book of the year really so far, other than Sunrise on the Reaping, because I didn't know what to expect from it again, and I enjoyed it far more than I thought I would. Tress is like a teacup collector, and so am I. It was just really funny to have a story told about the main character from a different main character's perspective. He's not a main character, but a different character's perspective about the main character. And there's a big twist at the end, and a couple of other twists throughout. And I don't know if I'm just completely dumb to twists, but I did not see it coming at all. Kind of as the narrator was saying about it, I was just kind of like, I didn't see it coming at all. But I would really love to get a nice copy of that book, because my partner would probably love to read it as well. So he does like Brandon Sanderson, and he has a couple of other books. I'm just trying to look to see if I can see any on our shelf, which is in front of me, but I can't, so they must be at the back. So Tress of the Emerald Sea was really, really good, and I think I may even reread it next year if I can get a physical copy. But that was another one where the narrator, he sounded really good, and I thought he would add a lot to the story for me. Sometimes I like to listen to them rather than reading them. I do love reading physical books, of course, but sometimes if I hear the audio preview and the narrator sounds really good, I'm just sucked in. I know some people can't listen to audiobooks and find it really hard to like imagine it coming from someone else's voice, but I quite like it, and it just kind of reminds me of when my mum and dad would tell me stories when I was younger. They always read to me a lot, so I don't know, I guess it's just a bit of a comfort as well, maybe. Okay, so after that one we have got another physical book here, which is also from the Folk of the Air series. It's just a little, it's kind of like a little collection of short stories that all lead into, like, they follow along with each other, but they're all kind of like separate stories. And that is How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories, and it's about Carden, the King of Elfhame. He is the sort of male main character in the Cruel Prince trilogy. And this is just sort of about his childhood and him as he grows up. Some different things that happen to him. And I bought this because I was so invested at the time in the Cruel Prince trilogy, and I did really love this book. It's kind of like a very me-ish book. I love books with illustrations and stuff like that. It also has a lovely hardcover with the title there in silver foil. Obviously, like everyone, I love a pretty hardback. My worst nightmare is when I get a hardback and I take it off and it's just plain. It's like, why? Why would you do that? Let me show you inside some of the little illustrations. So obviously that's a card in there. Just has these really pretty sort of almost doodly drawings. That is a scene from the first Cruel Prince book when he pushes Jude into the water. And it just sort of tells you some parts from his perspective, but also, like I said, his childhood. And then kind of afterwards as well, I think there's a couple of stories afterwards when he's with Jude there. And again, I really enjoyed this book. It's really short, the stories are short. I think I read it, I didn't read it in one night, but I think I read it in two nights. The writing's massive and there's hardly anything on there. It's just kind of a little taster, a little extra. And other than this one, I think there's one more really short story, but it's only available on Audible. I think it's only just an hour long, and it's about Taryn, her twin sister, Jude's twin sister. And I've been tempted to get it to listen to multiple times, but I really don't want to spend like a £8 credit on a book that's only an hour long. Maybe one day. The next one then is Fourth Wing. I listened to Fourth Wing on Audible, so I don't have a physical copy for that one. And I did that as a buddy read with my sister. We both started it at the same time. She's a really fast reader, so she finished it miles ahead of me, and she went on to book 2 and 3. Can't do a 3. There we go, 3. She went on to book 1, 2, 3, which I think are called Iron Flame and Onyx Storm. I'm sure. I'm just gonna have a drink quickly. I'm sure everyone knows what they're called. They're extremely famous right now. Just got my Hades cup here from Disneyland Paris. Fourth Wing, I really enjoyed it, but I listened to it just before I went to Disney, which is actually funny. I've just picked this up. And I kind of like lost the bug, I lost the vibe, so I never bothered listening to the second one yet. I did buy it with my Audible credit because I was fully invested and I was ready to go on it. Iron Flame, but I got back from Disney and I just wasn't feeling it. You know, my sister had already read it and the other one by the time I'd got back. And I was kind of just like, I'm not that worried. So they're on my TBR, but I'm kind of in no rush to get to them yet. I've got so much other stuff I'd rather get to first. And especially now I know that the next 2 books in that series aren't coming out for a long time, I'm kind of not that worried. If anything, I can wait for them to come out and then re-listen to Fourth Wing and like binge the whole series. The next 3 that I've got are all physical books, and then after that I have one more that's on Audible. However, I'm currently listening to that one, so it's more in a current reads section. So the next one that I had read this year was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. And I'm sure everyone knows what this is about as well, because it's also been quite famous. I think it's got a map as well, actually. There we go. It's about a city where everyone has powers, and it's kind of illegal to be powerless, and they call it an ordinary. So of course our main character, Payden, is an ordinary, and she's kind of in hiding by pretending that she has a power, and she ends up kind of having to go in this like trial, and she's having to go against all these people who have big strong powers, and of course she kind of falls in love, but not really. There's like a little bit of a love triangle, but again not really. She kind of likes the male main character, who is also in this book. It's dual point of view. So you get Kai and Payden, and they just kind of, they like each other, but you know how it is, they just kind of never actually sort of act on it lately. Because obviously they're not allowed or whatever. So I did really enjoy this book, and at the time I didn't have the second one, so I started reading another book, but now I'm currently reading the second one of this one. I asked for it for my birthday present of my boyfriend, so I really enjoyed this book. I also love this cover with her little dagger. It's kind of funny really, because this is not how I picture a dagger in my head, even though it's on the front cover. So after Powerless, I didn't know what to read, so I actually did a TBR jar prompt, and it said for me to pick a book that was set in England. So although this one's not sort of set in England that we know, it is sort of set in London, multiple different Londons. So I picked A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. So this was the book I read after Powerless. And this is about a guy called Kel who can sort of walk between realms. But all of the realms are different, like London's. Different versions of London. Some that have magic and some that don't, and some that are like power crazy. And again, I actually really enjoyed this book. It's one of my boyfriend's books, I think. Well, it's not mine, but it's on our shelf, so I'm not actually sure where it came from. Yeah, it could have been given to us by my cousin. She gives us a lot of books. But I just saw it there and I kind of thought, that looks actually alright. And so I gave it a go and I did really enjoy it. It took me quite a long time to get through, but not because the book wasn't good, just because I was so busy with other stuff. I think this took me just over a month to read this one. And it's only... let me have a look. 384 pages long, so it's quite a short one. 384 pages. It took me about a month to read it. We do also have the second two books. They're just up there on the shelf. What they called? A Gathering of Shadows and A Conjuring of Light. So both of those are also going to be on my TBR right now. But I'm looking forward to the next one and this one. Now we're kind of moving on to my current reads. So I'm currently reading In Physical Reckless. There's my bookmark there. I'm on chapter 36. And again, this is dual point of view with Payden and Kai, but we also have Kit in this one as well. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I think I've been reading it for about 2 weeks. So again, I'm not a super fast reader and I'd like to read more, but it just sort of depends on when my son goes to bed, what jobs I've been ignoring, what other things I've got to do. My partner does taekwondo and he has to go to a lot of competitions and stuff. So it just kind of depends what we've got going on with our life in general, really. But so far I'm really liking this one. I think that some people didn't enjoy this one as much as the first one, but I think I actually like it better than the first one. It feels a little bit more like its own story, whereas I found the first one a little bit like just trying to take parts, little bits, like a bit of Hunger Games, a bit of Maze Runner, a bit of this, bit of that. Kind of like X-Men, like powers, but the ordinaries, and kind of like X-Men in reverse, I suppose, but depends what side you're on. If you're on Magneto side, then I suppose not. But yeah, so far I really like this one, and I'm hoping to finish it either tonight or tomorrow. But that might be hopeful. Let's say by the end of the week. By the end of the week, considering today's Monday, I'd like to have this one finished. I do already have the third book for this one, so I probably won't go straight onto it because I have some books here to show you that I'm kind of keen on reading next. But it's there ready when I want to. I kind of like have to read a different book in between my series. I won't tell you too much what this one's about because obviously it's number 2. And then my boyfriend's currently rereading the first one, so I think he's actually reading that now, so I wasn't able to get that one to tap on. But to represent it, I'm going to be tapping on this one, which is not the book that I'm listening to on Audible. But The Blade itself, the first one, this one is book 2, but I'm listening to the first one. The Blade itself by Joe Abercrombie. I'm not sure what this series is called. The First Law. These are some of my boyfriend's favourite books. And so he asked me if I wanted to do a buddy read with him, which is why he's currently reading his actual copy of it. And I said that I would listen to it on Audible, because I heard that the guy that narrates it on Audible does a really good job, and so far I'm really enjoying it. It's taken me a while to kind of get into the story, but I'm really enjoying it so far, and it's also fun to listen to a book that he really likes. So I'm listening to not this one, but the first book of this series on Audible at the moment. So The Blade itself and Reckless are kind of my current reads that I'm hoping to get finished. Reckless by the end of the week, and The Blade itself like within the next month, hopefully. And that's all the reads that I've had this year so far. So for me that's quite a lot. I know for some people they'd like smash that out in a month, and for other people that would seem unreachable, but I'm happy where I'm at so far. I then thought I'd show you these 3 books that I'm torn between reading. So the first one is Cinder, which is kind of my next read. I've just noticed this writing's really similar to the writing on the Reckless book. Like, it's almost identical. That's literally the same E. They obviously like this font. I don't know if it's published by the same people, I don't think so. So anyway, Cinder by Marissa Meyer is kind of on my reader to be read next. This was one of the books that I picked with my TBR jar prompt for this month. It was the book that's been on my TBR list the longest, and this has literally been following me around after I've moved house multiple times and all sorts. So hopefully this is the month. It's a short one as well, I think. Not all the ones in this series are very short, but this one is quite short. .387 pages as well. 387. So so hopefully I'll be able to get down this one quite fast. So this is kind of the next read, but apart from this one, I've got two books that are kind of in a genre that I've never read, and I did tell myself this year I want to try and read some books that are not in my normal fantasy sort of genre, fantasy sci-fi sort of genre. So I've got this Bob Mortimer book, The Satsuma Complex, and also this Off to the Races book. Neither of these are books that I would normally pick up. I was given this one for my birthday because my boyfriend's obsessed with Bob Mortimer. But it kind of sounds like a little bit of like a comedy mystery kind of book. So I'm kind of tempted to read this one. It's super short and it's like a standalone, which again, I'm kind of in the mood for a standalone at the moment because I've already got the First Law series and I don't actually know what the Powerless series is called, but that Powerless series, and also the Darker Shade of Magic series, which again I don't know what that one's called. This one here. I've kind of already got 3 series on the go right now, so I kind of just want a little standalone to read in between. So this one looks quite good, so possibly this one is my next read, or this one here, which is Off to the Races. I've never read a book like this before. I don't know what it's about. But I'm assuming it's horse racy, small. It says it's the Gold Rush Ranch. I don't know if that's the name of the series, and it's Elsie Silver. She's done a lot of books there. Powerless, Reckless, Hopeless, Flawless. Kind of the same names as the other books there. Oh yeah, this is the Gold Rush Ranch, Off to the Races, photo finish, the front runner, and a false start. I'm assuming they're kind of like small town romance books. Kind of sounds like a boss and an employee sort of romance. It's surrounded by sort of either a farm or horse racing, I guess. So again, I don't really have any idea what this one's about, and it's not a book that I've ever read anything like, but I guess I'll never know unless I try, so possibly this one or this one. And I will definitely be reading Cinder, but I'm not sure which one to go for next. So if you've read any of these books and you can give me a suggestion on which one to read next, I'll greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching my reading wrap up of the year so far. Hopefully I can come back at the end of the year with a part two for the books that I read towards the end of the year now coming up. don't know if I'll be able to keep up with the pace that I read the 12 so far, but I guess 11 because that one was a DNF, but we'll see how I go. So thank you for